of Tabletop Tuesday, and it's episode 3. And I know that some of you were wanting us to defend or respond to an attack in Stargate Command from Stargate. We're doing that next week, unfortunately, for some of you. However, this week, we're going to do something more OT-based again. Let's bring in our incident handlers, our response team. You know what? Here, I'll put you guys in the limelight. You guys are on top. Well, but then it makes mine look bigger. I don't know. That's wrong. All right. So anyway, you know what? Here,
They don't need to see my face, so it doesn't matter.
Well, they have to see your face. Yep. All right. So we have Isaiah, we have Gavin, and me. And want to say hi, guys? Want to say anything about yourselves? Introduce yourselves real quick, as much as you want or not want to.
Gavin, go first.
Yes, sure. I'm Gavin from New Zealand. I was a plant operator. That's not code for a vegan. It's worked in a factory as an operator, became an industrial automation engineer, and then eventually switched to OT cybersecurity. So I've been doing that for quite some time. Over to you.
I've been doing technology stuff for almost 20 years. First 10 was IT. Last 10 has been OT. I worked for Clan at one time when we were at Leo trying to build
I fired him. I got sick of him.
He didn't fire me. I fell on the sword because of a CEO we will not name.
Okay. All right, this is going to be a fun one already, I can tell.
I took one for the team, okay? That's what happened. But, hey, man, I'm trying to protect you. You didn't fire me. But like,
all right, no, that's true. I didn't fire you. Okay, let's get this started. All right, so let's turn the participant names off. Let's bring in the game board. I say a game board. It's actually, it's not a game. It's a tabletop exercise, but it acts like a game because I'm a gamification developer. All right. So we've chose our setting. What's that?
I said it's wargaming to me.
It's wargaming. All right. So again, we're going with the, here, let me turn on my yellow mouse, my bouncing ball. I always forget to do that. Okay. See, now we can sing, surprise me with the threat. All right. All right. So surprising the threat again, it can be cyber physical, or an insider. We're doing a large U.S. maritime port by Isaiah's request. He wants to do maritime. And so we're going to let it do that. We have a small IT team and a small security team. We have cybersecurity staff that includes the OT staff. And Alex in chat. No, Alex, I did not forget to pay off the demo gods again. Notice my children are not here. They have been consumed by the demo gods. All right, so we have a distributed network with smart IoT devices, smart cranes and ships and vehicles running on GPS and all this stuff. What could go wrong? And the cyber posture isn't strong. All right, so we're going to leave the injects as usual up to the tabletop game master. The AI game master, win conditions are as usual. They are default, which are we must identify, classify, isolate, respond, and recover. All right, so loss conditions will be also if we don't achieve those things. We're going to try to get this done in an hour because I do have a hard stop at 4:30 today. So we're going to save that and we're going to go. All right, and there we go. So my server has been running a little slow today, and I did a demo earlier today, and it was kind of crawling. So we'll see how this goes. And as usual, you know what? Oh no, I'm gonna have to make an adjustment.
You didn't pay enough to those demo gods. You're gonna need more children.
Yeah. So my audio. Hold on, real quick. I got to call an audible.
Flag on the play, man.
Boom! I did it. All right. Audio's coming in pretty soon. Hold on. Give it there's a lag with the audio. I still haven't fixed that, the latency and the lag. It'll read this out in just a second. When it does, we'll all... Wait, are you hearing echo with you? Because I have my system audio going?
No.
Introduction. Response tabletop exercise. As the facilitator, my role is to navigate you through the unfolding scenario, offering guidance and presenting you with challenges that test your readiness and response capabilities. You and your team will need to collaboratively discuss, make decisions, and propose actions as if you were responding to a real-world incident affecting your organization. Remember, the effectiveness of your response is not just about the immediate actions, but also about understanding and mitigating the long-term impacts of those actions. I am here to offer advice when asked and will introduce various elements to the scenario to simulate the unpredictability of real-world incidents. Let's work together to protect your organization's operations, ensuring you approach each challenge with a strategic mindset. Setting the stage. Your organization is a large U.S. maritime port, a critical infrastructure component facilitating a significant volume of international commerce. Given the nature of your operations, the IT and cybersecurity infrastructure must manage and secure a complex network that includes operational technology, OT, integral to port operations. Your IT team is small but proficient, handling general IT requirements, including networking, user support, and system maintenance. The cybersecurity staff, also small in number, includes specialists responsible for securing both IT and OT environments against an increasingly complex threat landscape. The environment within your port encompasses a variety of technology, from traditional office IT to specialized OT systems that manage everything from logistics and container management to security access controls and environmental monitoring systems. Scenario. It's early Monday morning and your security team receives alerts from several OT devices indicating unusual network traffic patterns. Almost simultaneously, the IT help desk begins to field calls from various administrative departments, complaining that they're experiencing intermittent access to the internet and some internal networks are unusually slow or unresponsive. Shortly after, reports emerge from operational teams at the terminals that automated loading systems are acting erratically, resulting in delays in cargo handling processes. The port's operations are beginning to experience significant disruptions, and there's a rising concern among the staff about the potential for a security incident affecting both IT and OT systems. Your primary objective is to quickly and effectively identify what is happening, classify the severity of the incident, isolate affected systems to prevent further spread, eradicate the threat, and recover affected systems to resume normal operations. The stakes are high, as continued disruption could lead to significant financial losses, reputational damage, and could impact supply chains relying on your port's operations. The exercise begins now. How will your team respond to these initial reports?
That was a mouthful.
Feel like I'm in a documentary. That voice
Yeah,
going on.
that voice, it's like a cross between David Attenborough and Sean Bean. Like
It sounded like my Audible voiceover dudes that be reading all the books that I'm like.
what kind of books you're reading? I don't know. All right.
All types of them.
All right. So what are we gonna do first?
I'm not going to lie. I kind of zoned out there for half of it. So I reckon we need to figure out what's actually causing the amount of traffic. Surely there's some logs saying the initial source, right? So we can determine.
I would want to prioritize the port systems first. I want to know what systems are being affected, especially any of the logistics systems, container systems.
You mean like the loading arms?
Yeah, anything that has to do with moving containers, ship navigation, because those are the things that are going to shut down the port or cause, ships to be sitting around or potentially, having some spillage of equipment, safety issues, and all types of other concerns.
Right, so we'll do that. See if we can find anything that can give us a clue as to what might be going on, and also if any other systems might be going on, what systems might
Are being
be
impacted.
impacted. I guess we can start there, right?
Are there any?
Yeah,
Are there any
I mean,
systems
we just
actually
need to know
down?
what is the current state. Yeah, what's the current state of those systems?
Yeah, to me, it seemed like they're behaving weird. They're operational but weird.
Yeah.
Like they're doing weird stuff.
Yeah.
So
So we
Yeah.
could say, what exactly are some of the symptoms? All right. Anything else? You can look at chat too. Y'all can see chat too, right?
Yeah.
yep.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So it's the end of the world as we know it. All right. Let's go with this and see what they say, and then we can continue to the spinning wheel. All right. Yeah. And so I'm going to say, this is your area of expertise more so than mine and Gavin's, I would assume, Isaiah. So therefore, you're the team lead here. Now, I think normally we would also have, if we were on the same team working in the same company, we would like have a note taker, but we have our notes being generated here for us. And we would also have an incident response plan probably that we would have out looking at and be like, okay, what do we do? What do we do?
Wait, companies have
That's
those?
assuming that the plan was. Sorry, go ahead again.
Oh, no, I said I didn't know companies had incident response plans. Not the ones I've assessed.
Well, I was going to say, because as Clint knows, half the time they may not have some of this stuff.
Yeah.
Or they'll steal templates that we gave them from our DoD backgrounds or previous projects. Or if I'm doing design build and we're trying to figure out like how to properly design the systems in the first place, we'll have like system security plans, backups, and all that kind of stuff defined. But yeah, most of the time, a lot of these companies, they may not have one. And if they do have one, it's probably going to be focused on like traditional emergency management, right? So think of like a port authority where they have to like coordinate between multiple entities, right? So I'm curious to see what it does.
Yep. So you can start reading now. Or this was a long generation. Like I said, the servers are running slow right now. So maybe we need to do an incident response on our own servers. All right, it should be starting to read.
By scrutinizing the logs of critical port systems, focusing on container management systems, navigation aids, and other operational technology critical to the port's functioning. The review process is meticulous, aimed at uncovering any anomalies that could indicate the nature of the problem affecting both IT and OT systems. Findings: Container management systems. The logs reveal a series of unauthorized access attempts that were initially blocked but eventually succeeded. Following these successful breaches, there were bulk data queries that do not align with normal operations, suggesting data exfiltration or an attempt to understand the network structure. Navigation systems. Increased network traffic directed towards navigation systems was noted, with signs of data tampering. Some navigational aid systems are showing inconsistencies in data, which could potentially mislead docking procedures and ship movements within the port area. Symptoms noted across systems. Intermittent network access, suggesting a strain on network resources or a potential network control maneuver. Erratic behavior in automated loading systems, including unexplained pauses and accelerations in machinery, indicating a compromise in their control protocols or malicious commands being issued. Increased CPU and network usage in systems that are not reporting operational activity at levels that would normally justify such resource usage, hinting at a possible malware infection or unauthorized activities. Based on the initial findings, it is evident that the port's systems are experiencing symptoms indicative of a cybersecurity incident affecting both the integrity and availability of IT and OT systems. The unauthorized access attempts, unusual data queries, and erratic system behavior suggest a complex threat actor targeting the port's operations. Immediate recommendations for action. 1. Communicate the incident. Alert key stakeholders and the incident response team.
All right, I paused it. We don't need to have it read to us the recommendations. So, yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's going in the order that I was. At least number 1 and 2 is the first thing I would do. Is like, with the navigation systems and the port systems, like how are we communicating with ship operators, right? Who's directing traffic? And that includes like if it's a port where there's military ships trying to deploy, cargo ships bringing and moving fuel, right? If there's cruise lines, so now you got to worry about civilian passenger ships getting in the way. So that's kind of why I picked this scenario, because we have those kind of ports in this country where we need to be thinking through. Like it's not just about commerce. It's about, hey, there's a cruise line going out. There's a Navy ship trying to deploy. If there's navigation aid problems, you can have potential ships being directed the wrong way, running into each other, running aground, docking at the wrong location. So that's kind of why I was thinking more about the safety issues than the commerce issues, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so it's definitely a safety and environmental issue. If you could put contaminants into the marine life, and you can also cause some safety concerns as well. So those are the keys, guys, right?
All right. So we definitely
Yeah,
want to
you're right. I
isolate.
didn't even think about environmental. I was thinking more about like threats to us. So like I'm thinking of if certain adversaries that I won't mention target certain ports that I won't mention, that everyone in the Navy and Marine Corps and Coast Guard all knows, if they start messing with some of those four ports I'm thinking of, there's all types of stuff going out of those ports. They could stop a ship deployment, right? If we announce that we're going to do X, they could cause navigation problems, cause a cruise ship to crash into another cruise ship, which we've all seen happen in the past, right? So that's why I was like, what about navigation systems? What about loading systems?
All right.
Who's communicating with ship operators?
With the navigation systems being impacted, is there any? It may be a bit too early, but would there be an option to start diverting and confirming cargo loads, what they're containing? Because if they got hazardous substances, I'd just be like, just dock, just drop anchor, wait. And safety passengers, it's like no, like let's just halt some of the traffic so we can triage.
Yep, I was going down that path of like, now you got to become a manual traffic cop. Like, how do we communicate who should be stopping, who should be going,
Okay.
right? Who's having issues?
Okay. So now, basically, we would leave that up to the experts. So we would say, let's see. We'll ask it, right? Do we have alternative means of port
Communication.
Yep. Traffic, communication, navigation. I would hope so, because it's supposed to be a captain. I mean, they're not all completely unmanned, right? Navigation, etc. We'll ask it that. Let's start with this. So we're going to formally declare an incident. We're going to communicate the incident to all the necessary personnel, ship captains, dock crew, etc. We need to also reach out to the proper government and law enforcement channels. We'll isolate the affected systems as we can and ask a question: do we have alternative means of traffic, port communication, navigation, etc.?
Good to go.
Yeah, just a quick question. This is like a hypothetical. Doesn't really pertain to the scenario, or at least it could. But I noticed in the recommendations there it says preserve evidence. That can be quite difficult in an OT environment, I would have thought.
Yeah. Oh, that's another thing that I was going to bring up. Who do we have to start investigation? We don't have we have a minimal cyber team, minimal IT staff. So, who do we call for? Do we call Isaiah's company to respond to this? Do we call Pascal? Do we call Dragos? Do we call Mandiant?
Hey, I would
IBM
say for this particular issue, I would call ICS CERT.
Mm-hmm.
Or I would go to the Joint Task
CISA,
Force.
I guess is what they're called now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, CISA, ICS CERT's on the CISA, but like if there's a joint task force in the area, I would go there. That way they can bring in FBI, CISA, the Navy, the Coast Guard, everybody that would be affected.
What about
I forgot, joint fusion centers or whatever they're calling
Greg just
calling
Ghostbusters.
these days. We might need Sam and Dean Winchester for this one. But yeah, joint task. I think it's called a fusion center. I forgot what they're calling it these days, but I know most of the major regions have them now. Where like, especially if it's maritime, you got Coast Guard, CISA, you got FBI, the Navy might have people there, and then obviously the local port authority.
What about ICS for ICS?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Someone in the port authority or maybe the local government, liaison from CISA should be the person. Like who's going to be the incident commander, right? That's a good question. As far as preserving evidence, they don't need to wait. They should call them for support, but they should automatically be working with their control systems, operators and vendors and integrators to see what data the control system's already capturing, right? Because what most people fail to realize is they always try to take an IT digital forensics approach that I learned back in the 2000s. The first thing I learned in OT a decade ago was like the PLC, the HMIs, the edge controllers, the sensors, they already have the data and they're already sending it. That's what the SCADA and DCS is for. So start there, see what it's already capturing, start dumping that data, backing it up, or you should already be sending it to like a historical server or something, right? So it's kind of like notify those people to call for help, but start with the systems you already have. Start collecting and dumping and screenshotting and, doing that initial forensics before you lose it.
Yep. All right. So I think I captured everything that we talked about there.
And Clint knows we had a customer. Don't rip out all your OT equipment and throw it on the floor in the warehouse. Because then I can't help you when I get there.
All right. Man, we're getting some long generations here. Oh, we got to inject. We'll see what that is in a minute. Woo-hoo. All right. Let's see. You can start reading ahead, and I'll wait for David Attenborough Bean to read to us.
Alex is hilarious.
All righty. Come on.
Action steps taken. 1. Formal declaration of cyber incident. You have officially recognized and declared a cyber incident affecting the port's operations, triggering the activation of the incident response plan tailored to handle both IT and OT security events. 2. Communication with personnel and external entities. Immediate notifications have been sent to all relevant internal teams, including ship captains and dock crews, advising them of the incident and instructing them to switch to predefined contingency protocols for manual operations or alternative communication methods. The port's senior management has initiated communication with the appropriate government agencies and law enforcement, specifically reaching out to the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, for guidance and assistance. A request for immediate support has also been filed with a local joint cyber task force known for offering rapid response to cybersecurity incidents affecting critical infrastructure. 3. Isolation and manual control. Switch. Affected systems are being isolated to mitigate the threat's spread. This includes segmenting networks where possible and physically disconnecting systems from the network if required. Queries have confirmed that manual control of dockside cranes and other critical operational technologies is possible, albeit at a reduced efficiency. The transition to these manual controls is underway under the guidance of experienced operational personnel to ensure as little disruption as possible to port activities. 4. Engagement with DFR support. Recognizing the limitations of the internal teams in handling a cyber incident of this complexity, the decision to enlist external digital forensics and incident response DFIR support was made. Contractual agreements are being expedited with a reputable cybersecurity firm known for their expertise in maritime cyber incidents. 5. Data preservation and preliminary investigation. The IT, OT, and cybersecurity teams have begun the process of data preservation, ensuring that logs, system images, and other relevant information are securely copied and stored for analysis. This is crucial for both understanding the extent of the breach and for any legal actions that may follow. Preliminary investigations have started, focusing on tracing anomalous network traffic, identifying any malware or unauthorized tools present on the systems, and attempting to pinpoint potential entry points used in the attack. Inject. As the teams pivot to manual control and alternative communication methods, the reduced operational efficiency is beginning to cause delays in loading and unloading processes, leading to a backlog of ships waiting to enter the port. This is starting to attract media attention, highlighting the disruption at the port and speculating on the potential causes. Next steps. With the external DFIR team en route and the initial containment measures in place, focus now shifts to managing the operational impact, continuing the investigation, and starting the planning for eradication and recovery efforts. How will your team manage the growing operational backlog and media attention while maintaining focus on the incident response efforts?
I'm just curious who our DFIR team is. All right.
I'm curious too.
Sometimes it gives you something fictional, and sometimes it gives you a real company.
Yeah. I mean, I'll call him and Dragos, someone that specializes in OT.
Oh, you're probably getting echo. Sorry.
No, you're good. And then Alex has a question.
Would general average apply here, or is that ship specific?
I think it depends on who was affected, right? So if we find out when they were switching to manual that, some cruise ship had a problem and, I don't know, went the wrong direction or something and then got in the way of some Navy ship, then it's like as long as there's communication with ship captain and somebody's playing like air traffic controller for the port of like, okay, destroyer, you go this way, Carnival, you go that way, cargo ship, you drop anchor and stay the hell out the way because you're gonna block the freaking port for everybody. It just depends on what's happening that day. And that's kind of why I wanted to go through this scenario, because people think about ports from just a commerce perspective, but I'm thinking about it from a national security perspective, especially if you have like the fleet.
It gave us a long answer to my question. I didn't ask for all this, dude, but good job, I guess. So, all right. Well,
Guardian Solutions, who's that?
They exist.
Yeah, well, I mean, he gave us a complete thing of what's going on instead of just telling us a name. So
Digital Forensics and Incident Response DFIR team en route is from CyberGuard Solutions, a cybersecurity firm with a strong reputation in critical infrastructure protection and extensive experience with maritime operations. They have previously worked with other ports and maritime companies, making them well versed in the unique challenges and regulatory environments of such settings. Capabilities of CyberGuard Solutions. Rapid deployment. They have a rapid response unit ready to be on site within hours, equipped with the necessary tools and expertise to tackle both cyber and physical security breaches. Comprehensive forensic analysis. Their team consists of experts in conducting deep forensic investigations to uncover the root cause of incidents, identify compromised systems, and trace the activities of threat actors. Incident containment and eradication. They provide hands-on assistance in containing the incident to prevent further spread and work closely with your internal teams to formulate and execute strategies for eradicating the threat.
All right, I cut him off because we don't need to hear about their capabilities. We don't need a sales pitch for this non-existent company. There is a CyberGuard Solutions out there, but they're more like IT staffing or something. I don't know.
Well, that's what I was going to say. This reads to me like traditional digital forensics, not necessarily OT specific, which is kind of what I was getting at.
Yeah, but they say upon arrival, oh, sorry, I was using the wrong one. Yeah, upon arrival, the CyberGuard solution team will initially meet with your internal cyber incident response team to understand the current situation, review the steps taken, and access the collected evidence that we have so far. They will then deploy their specialized tools to accelerate the identification, blah, 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 blah. Okay, what do you want to do, Isaiah and Gavin?
I'd rather call in OT specific folks in this case.
Okay.
Like Mandiant or Dragos.
So okay, I forgot all this stuff. Okay. Well, I mean, it's a made up system. It did say that they've responded to maritime before, right?
Yeah, but that doesn't necessarily mean OT.
Okay, all right. We'll just ask. Okay, well,
can we infer that they have OT experience?
Yeah. Let's just infer it here. We'll just
basically I don't know how you want to word it, but we want them to look at like the navigation devices, the systems. I don't just want a bunch of forensic logs. I want them to go out and investigate, talk to operators, figure out, hey, what did you see? What was the navigation system doing? How do we have to communicate to ship operators? Which containers were, having issues being loaded? Did we lose any equipment? Did anything get dropped? Did anyone
you can ask too. You could be part of that. And
yeah. Like for me, this kind of operation isn't just looking at like network logs. And I think that's my biggest, as you know, Clint, that's my biggest beef with people are looking at these things from a traditional differ. And I was like, no, this is a port. You got to look at it from an all hazards, all threats. Like someone attacked our country perspective, not of they just went after some systems. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And we'll say, while we do want to determine if the initial attack vector was from an IT system, we also want to check the OT systems for the same, but also using our combined, one or two powers combined, using our combined expertise in OT, we want a thorough investigation of the OT systems.
Yeah, I'm also interested in maintaining the operational status. So, a lot of these docking arms or loading arms, they usually have HMI directly connected to the PLC or nearabouts. So there's not much needed to get that sort of stuff going. What I'm trying to find out is, okay, what can we bring online, isolated? I know we've previously said we've isolated stuff, but I'd want to know system by system, what is the plan to get container ship A unloaded or loaded and then off and away, and obviously doing that safely through the navigation system.
Yeah,
logistics systems, usually you can backfill that via paper entry. So it's not optimal, but it can be done, and I'm sure it's been done in the past.
And I want to know specifically what components and devices and states were changed and manipulated, because that's what we really should be focused on for OT.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit about the logs. This is not differ. And I think that's the point I'm trying to make is I want to know specifically what was manipulated, what state was something in, when was it changed, how was it changed, right? Like for the navigation systems, what was changed specifically? Like, was data being spoofed, right? Was a navigational aid being spoofed? Was, the navigation systems that the ships are using to go through the port and know where to dock, was that data was the integrity compromised? Like, I want to know all that stuff.
Basically,
from memory, the navigation system got tampered with.
Yep,
and the PLC, I assume a PLC, the control system stuff was just queried and data was extracted. So I
Well,
think
it said it was
confirmation
behaving erratically, so that tells me they did more than just a data dump. That tells me
Yeah.
they actually manipulated
If
state.
you're putting enough data on the network, then commands aren't being sent back and forth. So it could just be that. So maybe they manipulated the config or the PLCs, or that didn't sound like it to me. It sounded more like a network issue. But that is something we need to confirm, right? Is it just
No, I
network? Did
mean,
they actually modify?
to me, where it said certain things were behaving erratic and then it said it was doing certain things, that's not a network congestion issue. That's
Mhm.
like that's two different issues. So the first thing they should be is checking the controllers, the equipment, the SCADA applications, not network logs. They should be going direct to the source
No,
to see.
not the network logs. It's if I have seen network congested cause control issues in the
Oh yeah,
past.
we all have. I've been in
Yeah.
plants where it
So
completely shut stuff down, but that doesn't mean something wasn't manipulated.
yeah, that's what we need to confirm those things. So
Yeah.
Somebody
what
said,
was
"Wow, that
changed?
is a real company." It is a real company, but this isn't what they do. So it made the name up, not knowing it was a real company that does this.
How do you know it made the name up? Maybe it really did pick
Well,
that company because they put on their website they do maritime
that maybe
with,
so.
but
Yeah, somebody
you know,
go look and see if they actually do maritime stuff. All right.
calling out the sector doesn't mean they do OT. Like I hate when people think that just because you work in a critical sector, that means OT. It does not. It just means you did differ in that sector. That doesn't mean you actually looked at actuation, pumps, valves, controllers. And that's the point I'm trying to get to is like traditional, because my master's
I
includes
misspoke
digital
thorough.
forensics. It's like I, just doing general digital forensics the way we learned it over a decade ago is not the same as doing something like this.
Is there a bingo card out there or a spread that people are betting on how many times I misspell something easy and stupid during these things? I thought Alex and Greg would have certainly gone down that road. All right. Oh man, this is giving some long generations because I like it. We're asking it a lot of stuff and it's giving us a big, huge feedback. So, um, I do like that. All right, come on. Yeah, I need to fix this delay. I will fix it. I promise everyone. I'm going to fix the delay. I have a fix in mind. I just haven't had time to do it.
There we go.
Preferred team focus and operational status. Check. Upon arrival, the CyberGuard Solutions DFIR team, alongside your internal OT cybersecurity staff, have laid out a plan focusing on thorough investigation and recovery of the operational technology, OT, and industrial Internet of Things, IoT systems, which are critical to port operations. The investigation aims not just to identify the initial attack vector, but also to understand the full scope of manipulations and changes within the OT environment. Operational status. Container management systems. Currently operating at a reduced capacity. Manual overrides are in place for certain functions, but efficiency is significantly decreased, leading to delays. Navigation systems. Partially restored to manual operation. However, the accuracy and efficiency of dockside operations are impacted, affecting ship movements and berthing schedules. Automated loading systems. The systems are intermittently online with manual oversight for safety. Response times are slower, and there's a high reliance on manual processes to maintain operation. Initial findings from OT system investigation. Attack vectors. Preliminary investigations suggest that initial access may have been gained via a phishing attack that compromised IT network credentials, which were then used to pivot to the OT systems. Additionally, some evidence of direct intrusion attempts on OT devices through exposed maintenance ports has been found, indicating a multifaceted approach by the attackers. Manipulated components and devices. Certain programmable logic controllers, PLCs, within the automated loading systems show signs of firmware tampering, leading to erratic machinery behavior. Configuration files within the container management system have been altered, affecting operational logic and data access. Changes observed. For PLCs, unauthorized firmware updates were applied, changing operation cycles and safety limits. For container systems, modifications to configuration files introduced logic errors, causing disruptions in container tracking and management workflows. Method of change. The changes were conducted remotely, leveraging compromised credentials for access and exploiting a lack of segmentation between IT and OT networks, as well as insufficient monitoring of OT systems. Plan for restoration. 1. Immediate isolation. Enhanced isolation of affected OT systems from the broader network to prevent further unauthorized access while maintaining essential operations through manual processes. 2. Firmware and configuration restoration. Identification and reinstallation of legitimate firmware versions for affected PLCs and restoration of correct configuration files.
All right. He doesn't need to read everything, but so basically the reason why it gave us a plan for restoration instead of us do it, I specifically told it that we don't actually have the stakeholders here in this. So basically we're asking them, hey, what's your plan? And they're telling us.
Yeah. I mean, that's more than likely going to happen in some cases, unfortunately, because, a lot of this stuff hasn't been truly war gamed the way it should, which is kind of why when I saw that you created this tool, Clint, that's why I was like, oh, man, the usual suspects, just like when we met all those years ago, when you had the virtualization, I said, hey, show it to this guy at the Pentagon, show it to FEMA. It's the same thing with this tool. It's like we were using measles to war game this kind of stuff years ago. And I think this would be a little bit better, in my opinion, than what we were using back then.
A lot better. All right.
Especially for GridX and regional exercises and stuff like that.
Well, I appreciate the sales plug, but
well, that wasn't a sales plug, but I mean, that was honest too.
That's one thing we know about you, Isaiah, is that you're going to tell it like it is. If it's no matter how good of friends we may be or whatever, you will call me out in public. I know that.
Well, I don't just do it to you; I do it to everybody.
I know.
I do it to myself too. So hey, it's at least I'm not a hypocrite. I do it to my own self.
All right, so we can assume. So look, we can assume that they're implementing this plan, right? As this plan is executed, the DFR and cybersecurity teams will continue to investigate to ensure that all aspects of the attack are understood and addressed. The focus remains on restoring full operational capabilities in a secure manner, mitigating the incident's impact on port operations, and implementing measures to enhance resilience against future attacks. So, I mean, it's kind of like it actually kind of took the control away from us once I said the stakeholders aren't in this meeting. I guess I should have told him like what our job is, because it's kind of like taking everything out of our hands. So I guess we inadvertently cheated. So at this point, we just got to say, okay, well, let's.
Well, the fact that the firmware has been altered, you have to confirm it's not just the firmware PLC, because IO cards have firmware. I'm sure it's just the PLC, but we'd have to check that. Second of all, the firmware's been altered, the logic's been altered, which could cause, again, a safety incident. So you'd have to have drop zone exclusions, all this to mitigate. And I wouldn't trust any of the cards that are in place. So I'd contact the vendor to see what they've got in stock, if not our own stock warehouse, to maintain that operational status. Obviously, we're going to have to shut things down, but it doesn't take too long to throw some new cards in, provided they're available.
Well, that you may not necessarily need to do a new card. So there's like firmware reverse engineering tools that I use, analysis tools. There's also the thing it didn't mention was service maintenance. When I was an asset owner, my biggest problem was like controlling laptops. And even when, I was an EPC integrator or Clint when we were just doing consulting. It didn't matter whether I was an asset owner. Like I've checked all those roles. The skid vendors, service maintenance people, like it didn't even mention them at all. And that's kind of where I was like, I'm happy that it took over a little bit because I wanted to see where it would go. Because a lot of folks that are going to need to use this tool, they don't have the staff and they don't have my knowledge and experience. So I wanted to see what it does if it just went off on its own, because it started going down the rabbit hole that I wanted it to, but it didn't go as deep as I would have done, right? I would have actually looked at like the service technicians, each system by system, like the contracts in place on like, hey, who's like remotely managing this? Is this automated system? Is it a skid system, like a package solution? Because that's totally different than if we're fully managing it as part of like one big ecosystem. Like I would have looked at all those details because those things matter. Because it's not just changing the firmware. It's like, hey, this thing got in because you got default settings and your stupid laptop's running some remote access, right? It's all those little operational things that it sort of mentioned, but it didn't mention.
Yeah, well, default credentials on a PLC is somewhat entertaining.
Well, that and the biggest problem I have is like controlling where the PLC programming software sits and who's pushing changes. So if they're not using MDT autosave or factory talk where I can do change control, like you got to look at more than just the firmware is being changed, because now you got to look at how is it changed and then who has access, right? Because it just assumed that it came in through the core IT network. It could have came in through the third-party integrator who's doing maintenance for those systems.
Well, it did look like that there were also access and unauthorized access and attempts indirectly and as a multi-pronged attack is what it did say.
So I'm thinking like, hey, some laptop with TeamViewer probably also got compromised, right? It wasn't just coming through corporate IT. Maybe somebody was out there doing maintenance, or maybe they have a maintenance crew, right, that have remote access or wireless access to systems. Who knows? I mean, there's multiple ways to attack.
Yeah, well, if it's too difficult to make the changes from a maintenance perspective, engineers will grab a 3G router, just plug into the serial maintenance port, and just have at.
I mean, they don't even need to do that. I mean, sometimes in design build, the reason why I focus on it so much is because sometimes in design build, people put multi-purpose devices and they didn't look at the specs and realize that device has RF in it and it's sitting in the stupid panel. Right? I mean, that happens.
I think it's about to read it for us.
Forensics and expert consultation. 1. Preservation of altered firmware. Before proceeding with the restoration of the affected PLCs, the DFIR team carefully extracts copies of the altered firmware from the compromised devices. These firmware copies are securely stored for forensic analysis, ensuring that any potential evidence is preserved and could assist in understanding the depth of the attacker's capabilities and intentions. 2. Reverse engineering and analysis. Utilizing specialized tools, the team begins the complex process of reverse engineering the altered firmware to understand the modifications made by the attackers. This analysis aims to uncover any hidden functionalities, backdoors, or other malicious features embedded within the firmware. The ultimate goal is to learn as much as possible about the attacker's techniques and objectives, which can inform future defense strategies. 3. Vendor notification. Concurrently, your team reaches out to the affected PLCs and systems vendors to alert them about the discovery of altered firmware versions. These notifications are critical as they help vendors understand the vulnerabilities exploited and contribute to broader sector awareness, allowing other entities to protect themselves against similar attacks. 4. Hiring Isaiah Jones. Recognizing the need for additional expertise in OT cybersecurity, you decide to bring on Isaiah Jones, a renowned expert in the field. Isaiah's role will be to oversee the forensic analysis efforts, guide the restoration process with an emphasis on security, and assist in implementing stronger defenses against future threats. His experience will be invaluable in ensuring that your team is taking all necessary steps to effectively mitigate the incident and enhance the port's cybersecurity posture. Waiting for task completion. As these efforts are underway, the rest of the DFIR and internal cybersecurity teams continue working on the restoration plan, focusing on getting the port's operations back online securely. Isaiah Jones works closely with the teams, providing expert advice and ensuring that the response efforts are coordinated effectively, prioritizing tasks that will have the quickest impact on restoring operational capabilities. The communications team works on managing inquiries and crafting updates for stakeholders, emphasizing the comprehensive response underway and the expertise being applied to resolve the incident. Next steps. With the forensic analysis of the altered firmware in progress, vendor notifications sent, and Isaiah Jones now part of the team, the focus remains on completing the task list outlined in the restoration plan. Full operational recovery, enhanced security measures, and comprehensive learning from the incident are critical objectives. As these tasks near completion, it may be valuable to start planning for a review of the incident response process, identifying lessons learned and areas for improvement. This review will help refine your incident response plan and cybersecurity defenses, ensuring better preparedness for future threats. The immediate focus, however, continues to be on resolving the current incident with minimal additional disruption to port operations.
I was going to say, do not call Isaiah Jones, call CISA and Dragos. I don't do incident response.
Well,
if you call me, you better call me before this shit happens so I can design it properly in the first place. Call me when you design and upgrade and migrate the system.
all right. So I don't know much about maritime, so I don't know how we're gonna get everything. This everything. I guess we haven't done a restoration yet. I mean, we're putting the proper firmware on. I mean, we can say, do we have?
I have an idea for restoration. This is where they should call me.
Yeah.
I was gonna say
Isaiah is yelling at people using using offensive language.
That is actually a true statement because I do that.
Mad.
But Isaiah wants to reevaluate systems design and look at design changes to OT systems.
Okay, so I say that again.
I want to look at the design of the OT systems and look at redesign considerations because that's where they should call me. Don't call me for the incident response. Call me for the fixing the design and then testing and validating and verifying that it's done correctly.
We sort of skipped over media.
Anyway, what, Gavin?
Oh, I was going to say there was mention of media, like a couple things.
Oh yeah.
We should probably prepare a PR statement.
Oh yeah, that too. Yeah, good point. Yeah. Probably should.
We'll get Isaiah to do it. He can yell at the reporters.
I won't yell at them. I'm like, hey, we should have been doing design like this, and this is how we should have responded.
These people suck. All right.
I'm like, we should have wargamed this shit.
Can you show me? We're using Benwalk. Samples of the verse output. There we go.
I want to see object security because it does all the work for me. It does all the Benwalk and disassembly. And it maps everything out. It even flags CWEs of like common weaknesses that could have been fixed that didn't have a CVE but was still there in the design, in the firmware.
So have we actually contained and eradicated the threat yet?
Or I think we've just contained it.
We've done partial manual operations and partial restoration. I don't think we've done anything other than that.
So what is? I'm just curious. display actual binwalk command outputs or samples. However, in a roller. Okay, well, it can spit out logs and things like that, but it can't do binwalk. I'll fix that. Trust me. I'm going to turn this thing into an auto reverse engineer tool.
Bro, you should have it do complete Firmidine firmware analysis tool because that's open source. Because it'll just do everything.
Yeah, there's a lot that I can do with this.
And the constraints outlined, let's proceed with the developments. System backups and restoration. Upon review, it's identified that the port has maintained a regime of regular backups for critical systems, including both IT and OT environments. These backups are verified to be clean and unaffected by the recent incident, providing a solid foundation for system restoration efforts. The availability of reliable backups significantly aids in the recovery process, allowing for the restoration of systems to a known good state prior to the incident. Isaiah Jones's conduct and system redesign. The situation with Isaiah Jones has escalated, with his frustration leading to unprofessional conduct. In response to this, senior management intervenes to address the behavior, ensuring that the work environment remains constructive and focused on resolution. Furthermore, Isaiah's request to review and potentially redesign the system for improved security is taken seriously. A plan is initiated to conduct a thorough security architecture review once the immediate incident response and recovery phases are complete. This review will focus on identifying security gaps and implementing more robust defenses, potentially including network segmentation, enhanced monitoring, and stricter access controls for OT systems. Preparation of PR statements. Recognizing the importance of transparent and responsible communication, the public relations team is tasked with preparing statements for the media, stakeholders, and the public. These statements will outline the nature of the incident, the steps being taken to address it, and the commitment to improving security measures. Efforts will be made to balance transparency with the need to protect sensitive operational details. The team will also highlight the engagement of external experts like Isaiah Jones, acknowledging without specifics about his conduct, and CyberGuard solutions to reassure stakeholders of the seriousness with which the incident is being addressed. Reverse engineering output, binwalk samples. Given the constraints of this platform, I cannot generate or display actual binwalk command outputs or samples from reverse engineering processes. However, in a real-world scenario, the DFIR team would use tools such as binwalk to analyze the extracted firmware, identifying embedded code, file structures, and potential anomalies indicative of malicious modifications. The output from binwalk would guide further analysis, potentially uncovering hidden functionalities or compromised elements within the firmware. Detailed findings from such analysis would be crucial for understanding the attack mechanisms and for informing the redesign and strengthening of system security. Next steps. The focus remains on system restoration using clean backups while addressing internal team dynamics to ensure a constructive work environment. Parallel efforts on PR and communication strategies will continue, ensuring that accurate and reassuring messages are conveyed to all concerned parties. Long-term, the incident underscores the need for a comprehensive review of security architectures and practices, particularly concerning the integration and security of OT systems within the port's operational infrastructure. As these steps are underway, it's critical to keep in mind the primary goal of restoring safe and secure port operations, alongside planning for systemic improvements to prevent future incidents.
Well,
I like that it took me seriously and they actually wanted to do system design improvements.
I like how the PR didn't mention anything about your conduct. That's good. This is smooth moving.
Yeah, you didn't get busted there. So
They should have. That would have been entertaining.
All right, since it's at the top of the hour, let's go ahead and wrap up here. And by the way, so like everything's real high level. Like if you wanted to take things, Isaiah, down to a more detailed level and be more specific about, I want to know exactly what changes were made in the protocol, was, what type of attack was it and stuff like that. You can dig down in that.
Okay.
You can specify that in the settings, but when you can't go too deep with an hour, right? So
Yeah, Roger that. But yeah, this is really cool to see because, as you know, a lot of the folks that I think should be using this, they don't have the expertise, right? So this is kind of like giving them a piece of our knowledge and expertise. Like I like the way some of the steps that it went in order is the same steps. I mean, I would have done more details and maybe rearranged, but like some of the initial steps that it was taking, like I agree with, and I'm like, okay, it kind of it looks like it's trying to dig into OT, right? But so if you have the ability to bring in an expert to dig deeper, then I think you could truly like war
yeah,
game some of these
it will
scenarios.
like you can actually you can literally give it like you can give it like a PLC like ladder logic program or function block or something like that, and you can say, hey, is this we're going to implement this,
What about like schematics and because like when I was talking about design, it
Mhm.
went to what everyone thinks is like, oh, look at the
Yeah,
network.
yeah.
And I'm like, no, I'm not talking
So
about the network. I'm talking about like, hey, here's the panel design, here's the crane, here's where this thing's in the panel that should be there. Here's how the
yeah,
operator's interacting with it, like total
so next
design.
week so next week or in the next 2 weeks, I'm going to
Yeah.
have network and diagram design you can upload specifically. It'll read network designs, architect diagrams, and implement that
Well, I'm not talking
into
about
the
just
settings.
network. I'm talking about systems diagrams.
Yeah,
So like
yeah, it will.
the
Yeah,
process flow, the piping instrumentation, the systems architecture, not necessarily just the network pieces.
yeah, it will.
Wiring diagrams as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
I mean,
what?
because when I do the secure design, the last thing I look at is network
Analysis and report. Score 85 out of 100. Executive summary. The incident response tabletop exercise tailored for a large U.S. maritime port has successfully concluded, simulating a complex cybersecurity incident affecting both IT and OT systems. Throughout the exercise, the team was challenged with identifying, classifying, isolating, eradicating, and recovering from a cybersecurity event that caused significant operational disruptions. The exercise demonstrated effective teamwork and a strong foundational approach to incident response, albeit revealing areas for improvement in security posture, incident management protocols, and communication strategies. Analysis. Summary. Identification and classification. The team efficiently identified unusual activities across IT and OT systems, correctly classifying the event as a cybersecurity incident. Early detection mechanisms were effective, but the exercise highlighted the need for enhanced monitoring and anomaly detection capabilities in OT environments. Isolation and eradication. The execution of isolation procedures helped limit the spread of the incident, demonstrating the team's ability to enact containment measures. However, the dependency on external DFIR support for eradication points to a gap in internal capabilities for handling sophisticated threats. Recovery. The availability of clean system backups facilitated a smooth recovery process for critical systems. The exercise underlined the importance of regular, verified backups in ensuring operational resilience. Communication and stakeholder management. The team's decision to engage with external entities like CISA and to hire a renowned OT cybersecurity expert was commendable. Nonetheless, the exercise exposed the need for refined crisis communication skills and mechanisms to manage internal team dynamics during high-pressure situations. Detailed cost breakdown. External DFIR support, estimated $50,000. Operational delays. Estimated loss of $100,000 per day, totaling $300,000 over the recovery period. Public relations effort, estimated $20,000. Hiring of OT cybersecurity expert, estimated $15,000. Total estimated cost, $385,000. Positive, successful actions. Effective initial identification and classification of the incident. Proactive engagement with external experts and law enforcement. Preservation of evidence and initiation of forensic analysis, utilization of clean backups for system restoration. Areas for improvement. Enhance monitoring and detection capabilities, especially in OT systems. Develop internal capabilities for sophisticated incident eradication. Improve crisis communication strategies and public relations preparedness. Strengthen team management and operational stress response protocols.
Isaiah.
Breakdown of score deductions. 5 points for reliance on external DFIR for eradication processes, and 5 points for gaps in immediate internal forensic capabilities, and 5 points for challenges in crisis communication and management of public perception. The exercise successfully highlighted both the strengths and areas for improvement within the port's cybersecurity incident response framework. Moving forward, it is recommended to address the identified gaps through targeted training, investment in advanced detection and response technologies, and the development of robust communication protocols. This will enhance the port's resilience against future cybersecurity threats and ensure continuity of critical maritime operations.
So we could continue to chat with it, be like, what was the exact cause? What was the entry point? You could get more information out of it and keep going. You can ask for actionable items to focus on. And obviously, since this isn't a real organization that we work at, and we all know, it makes a lot of assumptions. And
yeah, because that price was very low.
Things. Yeah.
I charged more than that.
Yeah. Okay. Here, let's do this.
Yeah,
I mean, I feel like they got off easy. Yeah, it's like, yeah.
I'm not showing up for 15,000.
Isaiah would have charged at least
150.
Yeah, 150K. Yeah, you better check yourself. All right, we're gonna get you some money, Isaiah, right here. We're gonna get you paid. All right. So, by the way, the audience, there were a lot of people saying, really appreciating your contribution, your knowledge. They learned a lot because of your expertise and knowledge, and that's one of the reasons I also wanted to have you on here. I mean, yeah, you're one of those foremost experts. I'll shut up.
Updated information regarding the engagement of the OT cybersecurity expert Isaiah Jones. The cost breakdown is revised as follows. External DFR support. Estimated $50,000. Operational delays. Estimated loss of $100,000 per day, totaling $300,000 over the recovery period. Public relations effort. Estimated $20,000. Hiring of OT cybersecurity expert, Isaiah Jones. Estimated $150,000. Total revised. Estimated cost, $520,000. The adjustment in the cost estimate to reflect the true cost of hiring an expert of Isaiah Jones's caliber emphasizes the significant investment required for expert consultancy during a cybersecurity incident, especially one involving the complex interplay of IT and OT systems within critical infrastructure settings. The higher cost underscores the importance of building internal capabilities and resilience to better manage and mitigate future incidents potentially without incurring such high external consultancy fees.
All right, well, that's better, So yeah, I mean, that's why I like to get experts on here and just this, I don't want anybody to think that this is, is this promotional for Auto Tabletop? Sure. However, I want it to be a learning experience as well. I want everybody to learn from this. That's why I want to get experts in here and just learn, get pieces, they can get nuggets that you can pull from this and experts. And so definitely encourage you guys to reach out to our experts whenever we, if you want to learn more and ask for advice and all that. So any final thoughts? We're not talking Jerry Springer style, but any final thoughts here before we close this one out? Before we Bob Ross it, call this one done.
No, I was gonna say I like what it's doing. I like that it's leading people down the correct path. But I think you still need people with certain experiences beyond just incident response, like that whole systems engineering discipline that people like me have, where we learn how to design systems, test them, validate them, respond, operate. Right, we've been in all those roles. I think you need that to drive this as deep as possible, to truly war game these scenarios before they happen and not be scrambling after the fact, right? And I think that's where we need the shift as a country and then all these sectors. And I think this is kind of way better than the old measles stuff we did where people are arguing over like which inject to put in the spreadsheet and that scenario can't happen. Like this thing leads you down real stuff that actually happens in ports already. Like nothing that it described is new. It's like these things have already happened in some places.
You heard it there. You heard it there.
Like whether they publicize it or not, this stuff happens. It happens all the time. They like to focus on the logs and quote incident response, and they miss the bigger picture of this is operational, right? And that's where I think the focus needs to be, in my opinion, at least.
That was a good summary, Gavin.
What I noticed or observed the most was the fact that it looked like as I was drinking straight vodka. So clearly this incident has had unprecedented effects on him. I assume that's water. But kidding aside,
I do that. I'm a Gemini, so I'm like that sober.
But back to the tool itself, the few tabletops I have done, there's always like last minute call outs. People kind of tend, even when you book them, it's hard to get groups of people and expertise in a room. So I can see this being very, very useful to fill in that skill gap. Do
you have any comments on any recommendations doing tabletops in general? Or incident response, any tidbits, any nuggets of advice out there?
Well, there was a comment before that, like the add-on profiles, getting people you actually have firms with OT. This was OT, right? So actually making sure that they actually had OT knowledge, because it took Isaiah. Sorry.
Now you're saying it like you said it,
Isaiah. Sorry.
It's cool.
To drive the focus of the PLCs and what have you, because the auto gen just kept trying to go down the traditional forensic route. So maybe with a profile, you'll be able to get them to go down the right way.
There's a lot that's still not explored. There's a lot we can do with this. There's still a lot of features we want to add. I think, this thing's only been out publicly for like 6 weeks now. And we're just going crazy with it. We're having fun with it. We're doing it at conferences. Anyway, if you're interested, you can find it at up there, ThreatGEN.com. But with that, we're already over, and I've got another meeting to get to, and I don't want to take up everybody else's time any further than I already have. So thank you, everyone, for joining us live. Thank you. Thank you for watching it on replay, if that's how you're watching it. Thanks for Gavin and Isaiah for joining us and lending us your expertise, and we'll catch everybody next time. See you, everybody.
Hey, good to see you again, brother. Take it easy. Gavin, nice meeting you.
Later.